I am a tiny ant, but I can do incredibly big things. Today, I will tell you how
I can lift 50 times my own body weight. Do you want to know the secret behind my superhuman?
All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're taking a microscopic look at exactly how an insect colony operates when it's completely pushed out of its comfort zone. Think of this as a sort of narrative documentary, a story of survival, engineering, and honestly, some pretty surprising individual heroics. So, picture this. We're tracking exactly 1,000 ants, freshly collected from the wild. They're embarking on this epic journey today for the ultimate prize. If they can survive a 4-stage gauntlet, the entire colony gets relocated to a massive, premium living enclosure. Sounds like a pretty good deal, right? Now, the big question we're exploring today is whether collective swarm intelligence can actually overcome complex, engineered environmental hazards. We tend to just assume that 1,000 brains working together can solve anything. But when confronted with synthetic barriers and totally unfamiliar materials, does that teamwork actually hold up? Or does it completely collapse? To test this out, they have to survive 4 distinct trials: the Speedy Sand Nest, the Tightrope of Doom, the Sweet Heist, and finally, the Sticky Lava. Kicking things off with Trial 1, the Speedy Sand Nest, where we're really just testing their baseline collective intelligence. Get this, the sheer speed of their teamwork here is honestly mind-blowing. Within literally 10 seconds of entering the tank, the first ants began digging. At just 45 seconds, they were already half an inch deep. And in only 8 hours, they completely excavated a highly complex, 2-dimensional nest to secure their hidden food. Every single grain of sand was manually carried to the surface. They're basically acting like tiny organic drill bits. It is a brutal but beautifully efficient physical mechanic. By forming these flawless assembly lines straight from the depths up to the surface, individual ants naturally conserve energy while moving just massive amounts of earth. Moving right along to Trial 2, the Tightrope of Doom. Now, this is where the swarm actually fails and a hero has to rise. The setup here is wild. It's a thin string stretched right over a dangerous pit. And to make absolutely sure the colony couldn't just cheat and walk on the walls, the pit below was coated in a substance called fluon. It's this invisible, highly slippery synthetic liquid that completely prevents insects from getting any grip. So that thin little string was the absolute only viable path forward. And, well, the swarm completely fell apart. Hundreds of ants just blindly marched forward and clumsily fell straight into the pit, completely ignoring their struggling teammates. Because the collective was such a chaotic mess, some strict safety protocols had to be initiated, thickening the rope, using tweezers to ethically rescue every single fallen ant, and even applying insect jelly to create a chemical scent trail for them to follow. But here is where it gets crazy. While hundreds of ants were still just falling into the pit, a lone scout miraculously bypassed the madness. She evaluated the path, grabbed a small insect leg entirely by herself, and crossed the tightrope completely alone. She definitely earned her affectionate nickname, Antony. This actually proves a really fascinating point about problem solving. Individual scouts' ingenuity often completely outpaces the blind momentum of the entire swarm. When the environment becomes too complex, that famous hive mind can actually become a liability. Okay, let's jump into Trial 3, the Sweet Heist. This is a classic battle of chemical signals versus physical barriers. This totally highlights how problem-solving efficiency changes based on their environment. When they were faced with a dry physical paper safe, the colony just ignored it. They didn't even recognize it as a target. But the absolute second it was painted with sugar water, the chemical scent completely overrode the physical barrier, and the colony instantly swarmed it. This sparked some incredible, spontaneous problem solving. You had thousands of ants greedily licking the sugar, which inadvertently weakened the paper safe. But again, the team didn't break in together. Just one lucky ant discovered a microscopic breach, slipped inside, and claimed the seed treasure for the whole entire colony. That brings us to our final challenge, Trial 4, the Sticky Lava. This one is all about tools, traps, and sheer physical strength. Ensuring their safety was paramount here, obviously, so tweezers were kept on standby to rescue any ants that got glued down. But to actually solve the puzzle, they were provided with tools, stuff like dirt, thread, and wood. The expectation was that the colony would intelligently use them to build a bridge across the tape. And at first, they definitely tried. The swarm started mathematically evaluating the path, pushing Dirt to collaboratively construct a bridge. But then, out of nowhere, another lone scout just bypassed the tools completely. Ignoring all that collective effort, she used sheer brute force to walk directly across the incredibly sticky trap, tearing herself free through pure strength. Incredible, right? Let's zoom out a bit for our final section, Lone Scouts versus the Swarm, and really analyze these gauntlet results. A very distinct theme emerged across all 4 obstacles. The expectation of teamwork consistently gave way to the reality of individual heroics. Outside of their natural dirt-digging environment, the Swarm basically failed to coordinate, relying almost entirely on one singular scout to figure out the solution each time. The statistics here are just wild. 100% of the colony enjoyed the rewards. Every single one of those 1,000 ants got the food and the ultimate prize. But that statistical success rate was heavily carried by just 3 lone scout ants. Less than 1% did the heavy lifting for the entire collective. But hey, a win is a win. The collective reward process was initiated, every single fallen soldier was safely rescued, and the entire colony was seamlessly transitioned into their grand prize, a beautiful, upgraded, premium living enclosure. So what should we actually take away from all of this? Well, ant intelligence is incredibly nuanced. While swarms have massive physical building power and momentum, adapting to new synthetic hazards requires the brilliance of lone scouts. We also saw definitively that chemical pheromone trails dictate their reality far, far more than physical barriers ever could. Why did only one ant carry the burden for the entire colony across 3 different obstacles? It's a great observation, and it perfectly summarizes the strange, unbalanced nature of the intelligence we witnessed today. The collective gets all the credit, but the individual takes all the risk. It leaves us with a totally fascinating question to ponder. Is the swarm really a genius superorganism, or is it just a chaotic crowd waiting around for one brilliant individual to show them the way? Definitely something to think about the next time you see a trail of ants marching across your sidewalk.